Journal publishes this weird op-ed by Supreme Court Associate Justice Sam Alito, the author of the Dobbs decision, the guy who quoted the 16th century witch burner as justification for making abortion illegal. In which he's saying, "Oh, you know, there's nothing here. I don't, you know. So what if a hedge fund billionaire is giving me, you know, a $200,000 airplane ride to a resort where we're drinking $1,000 a bottle, wines? There's no there. There's nothing. And he's got business before the Supreme. I even voted on the Supreme Court to help him out, but it doesn't matter. There's nothing corrupt here." It's getting weird here. Let's check in with our old buddy Greg Palast, the guy who really knows all about this stuff, and in particular about this particular billionaire, because he wrote about him. Paul Singer is the billionaire's name. Greg wrote about him at some length in his book and his film, The Best Democracy Money Can Buy. You can find them both over at gregpalast.com. In fact, the book is available with a free download right now over at gregpalast.com. Greg, welcome back to the program. Tell us about Paul Singer.
Paul Singer is the guy known as the Vulture, considered literally worldwide, considered the most vicious financier on this planet and the most dangerous. He controls $42 billion. Much of it is his own money. And I've been tracking him starting with BBC television when he literally stole the money for cholera medicine that was supposed to go to the Congo. So I was tracking for BBC and then later did a cover story in The Nation where he figured out how to get $100 million payoff to Mitt Romney through his wife's so-called secret trust fund, $100 million of U.S. government money from the auto bailout. This guy's a piece of work. Cholera medicine, auto bailout, all these things have been, by the way, several cases before the Supreme Court. He was also pleasuring a guy named Antonin Scalia. The same thing. And several appellate judges. There was, in fact, an appellate judge on this trip with Alito. So Singer has been purchasing judges. He's really concentrated on this, not just politicians. And one of his big cases, because after I did some of my reports, England, China, most nations of the world passed laws actually banning his operations. Except in the United States, we are an exception, which allows this guy to seize nations, everything from cholera money. And in the case of Argentina, which is a big issue.
Right. That was the one that went before the Supreme Court.
Yes, and he paid $50 million for some old forgotten bonds from the Argentine military dictatorship. And when he got those bonds for $50 million, he demanded $5 billion from Argentina. And to make his point, he seized an Argentine naval vessel. He's a pirate, literally, on the high seas. It's a masted ship. He's literally a pirate. Now, here's the problem, Tom. That's interfering with the foreign policy of the United States. You don't seize naval vessels of other nations. He also seized the presidential plane of Peru, and in return for $35 million, then gave it to Alberto Fujimori, the president who was escaping his own nation because he was about to be charged with murder.
Whoa.
He helped him escape murder charges.
Fujimori was about to be charged with murder.
Yes, Fujimori is about to be charged with murder. Like I say, so cholera medicine, helping murderers escape, seizing Allies' naval vessels, the cholera medicine story. So all over the world, this guy known as the Vulture, and of course pleasuring Mitt Romney, but he's really worked very hard on buying up as many judges as he can. Now, he tried to get me fired from BBC. He keeps files on me. They track me. They follow me. I'm sure that you'll get a note from the Singer's goons. We've got a file on Greg Palast. And yes, they do. As BBC told him, well, apparently he has a file on you too. So but he is, in my opinion, in the 16 years I've followed him and the decades of work I've done in investigating, he is absolutely the most dangerous financier on this planet. And that's recognized all over the world with laws specifically aimed at controlling him, except in the United States, where, among other things, he basically funded the entire career and successful campaign for Speaker by Paul Ryan. So look out. This guy is a special case, and they only caught this one example. I've been following this guy, basically purchasing our laws for nearly 2 decades.
Yeah. I have no, personal knowledge or firsthand knowledge of any of this. I'll for the moment, take your word for all of this, and
Yep.
people can find your book, the best democracy money can buy, over at gregpalast.com for the details. But Greg, to speak more generally about billionaires buying Supreme Court justices, you and I are both old enough to remember when hardcore right-wing Republicans like Earl Warren were put on the court by Dwight Eisenhower and then became progressives. I mean, basically became liberals anyway.
Yes.
And we've seen this with even Sandra Day O'Connor moved to the left in big ways over and over and over again. They
moved to the Tom. They moved to the Constitution.
Exactly. So
I don't think they moved to the left. They moved to the Constitution.
I agree. They let's say that they moved away from their right-wing ideological views that they held prior to being put on the court. And my sense of it is that the reason that these billionaires are reaching out to people like Sam Alito and Clarence Thomas is not so much because, Paul Singer wants Sam Alito to vote his way on the Supreme Court. I mean, that was a 7-1 decision, the Argentina decision, where the Supreme Court actually supported Paul Singer. It's rather that they don't want them to stray from conservative land. What do you think?
Yes, well, he has a specific program. He's the big money behind the Federalist Society, which creates...
and Leonard Leo was on this trip, by the way.
Yes, yeah. So the head of the Federalist Society was with him, other appellate judges. So one of his big tricks is to say, look, if you want a judgeship, if you're an appellate judge, you want to be on the Supreme Court, you play ball, you go fishing with Paul Singer. You play spin the bottle with Paul Singer and his buddies. This is so, and he's letting these judges know, you want to move up the judicial ladder and get those better black robes. You play ball with Paul Singer. That's the name of the game. They all, everyone knows what the game is. And it's not even so much influencing Alito. It's that the other judges who are trying to, brown nose their way up through the right-wing Federalist Society operation, that they see the rewards you get, and they see if you want to play with the big boys, you play with Paul Singer.
Right. We're still wondering who paid off Brett Kavanaugh's mortgage and gambling debts, and credit card bills, and we're probably looking in the wrong place. We should instead be asking, which billionaire has been sucking up to Brett, to beer bong Kavanaugh here.
Yeah. So what we end up with is creating again, this massive amount of money. One of the things that we can't find out with the court, because it kind of regulates, the justices regulate themselves. It took quite a bit of effort, to say the least, a major investigation to uncover the fact that Singer had literally gotten about $110 million to Mitt Romney through his wife's secret trust. This is the problem, is that Singer really knows how to pleasure these politicians. Was this when Romney was running for president, you mean, or
yes,
just? Yes, okay. That was my cover story in The Nation, Romney's bailout billionaire. Huh. And he, by the way, he never ever denied it. And Romney actually said, "I got the money, but it was legit." Well, yes. Thank God the UAW used that to defeat Romney in Ohio, which took the election. But Singer knows how to make you rich, and that's very important. We're not talking about I think it's not fishing trips. That's just the beginning of it. He lets people into his investment fund to make tens of millions of dollars. That's the real trick. Yeah. Go to gregpalast.com. The film Best Democracy Money Can Buy is now downloadable for free. There's plenty of Singer in there to show this guy's unbelievable influence under the radar.
Great. Greg, thank you so much. Greg Palast.